Sophia Marie was 20 years old and completely homeless, living on the streets of Austin, Texas with nothing but a worn backpack containing her few possessions and the unbearable weight of tragedy that had shaped her entire life. Her parents had died when she was only 12 years old in a horrific car accident on a rainy highway outside of Austin, leaving her orphaned and devastated, her entire world shattered in a single moment of tragedy. She had been raised after that by her Aunt Margaret, a kind and compassionate woman who had done her absolute best but who had struggled tremendously with finances to provide for both herself and young Sophia. When Sophia turned 18, her Aunt Margaret's health had begun to decline rapidly with a serious illness, and her beloved aunt had passed away just 2 years later at age 60, leaving Sophia completely alone in the world with no family whatsoever, no support system, and no one to turn to for help or guidance. Sophia had spent the last 2 years living on the unforgiving streets of Austin, sleeping in homeless shelters when beds were available, sleeping in public parks on benches, sleeping under bridges during the brutally hot Texas summers when temperatures exceeded 105 degrees and during freezing cold winters. She worked multiple minimum wage jobs simultaneously, cleaning houses for wealthy families, working as a dishwasher and server at restaurants, doing yard work and landscaping, doing whatever work she could find to survive day by day. She saved every single penny, every dollar she could possibly spare from her meager wages, denying herself basic comforts and necessities, living on the bare minimum. She dreamed constantly of having a safe place, a sanctuary where she could feel secure and protected from the harshness of life. She dreamed of having a real home where she could remember her parents and her aunt without pain consuming her every waking moment. Then she found the listing for an abandoned veterinary clinic in Austin for $5 at a county property auction. The clinic had been built in the 1970s as a modern veterinary facility and had served the Austin community for over 40 years before the aging veterinarian had retired and the building had been abandoned and left to decay. The structure was solid brick and mortar, still strong and sturdy despite decades of neglect and abandonment. It sat on a corner lot in an older, established neighborhood of Austin, surrounded by other abandoned buildings and empty lots that showed the area's decline. The county government wanted it gone from their records and their responsibility. They were willing to sell it to anyone for $5 just to remove it from their books and their liability. Sophia had been saving money meticulously and carefully for many long months, working extra shifts whenever she could secure them, denying herself every basic comfort to accumulate her meager savings dollar by dollar. She had exactly $5.30 to her name after years of sacrifice and hard work. She used $5 to buy the veterinary clinic at the county auction held at the courthouse in downtown Austin. A kind and patient clerk helped her with all the paperwork and legal documentation required. 2 weeks later, she received the official deed in the mail. The abandoned veterinary clinic in Austin, Texas was now officially hers. Before we continue, if stories like this mean something to you, hit subscribe. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. When Sophia first walked through the heavy wooden doors of the abandoned veterinary clinic, stepping into the darkness and thick dusty emptiness of decades of complete abandonment, she felt like she was stepping into her future, into a place that had been waiting for her. The main reception area was still furnished with old wooden reception desks and worn office chairs, all covered thickly in dust and the passage of time. The waiting room had comfortable chairs still arranged in orderly rows where pet owners had once sat with their beloved animals waiting for appointments. The walls had faded but still beautiful murals of animals painted on them, dogs, cats, birds, and other creatures showing the veterinarian's love for all animal life. The hardwood floors were still intact and beautiful despite years of neglect and weathering. Sophia spent the entire first week exploring every corner of the clinic carefully and methodically. She found multiple examination rooms with old but functional veterinary equipment still positioned on the metal examination tables. She found the surgical room with its surgical operating table and overhead lights still in place. She found the storage room with shelves of old veterinary supplies, medications, and instruments carefully preserved. She found the veterinarian's private office at the back of the building with a desk and filing cabinet still full of records. She found a small but comfortable apartment space above the clinic where the veterinarian had lived for many decades. Everything was covered heavily in dust and cobwebs and showed the effects of time, but the structural foundation was sound and the walls were strong and protective. It was in the veterinarian's private office, hidden carefully behind a loose brick in the wall directly behind a framed diploma on the wall, that Sophia found it. A safe. An old but secure metal safe, weathered by time but still completely functional. Sophia worked for many hours over several days to get it open, using various tools she found scattered throughout the clinic and employing careful persistence and determination. Finally, with a heavy metallic click that echoed through the quiet office, the safe opened to reveal its precious contents. Inside were multiple metal boxes and containers. Multiple sturdy boxes filled with cash money in different denominations and from different decades. Precious jewelry, gold rings with intricate designs, diamond necklaces with brilliant stones, pearl bracelets, emerald earrings that glowed green, sapphire brooches, ruby rings. Each piece was valuable and exquisite, clearly belonging to a family with resources and sophistication. There were also important legal documents preserved carefully. Deeds to property, property papers and real estate records, insurance documents and financial statements. Everything was carefully organized and preserved for safekeeping. Sophia counted everything slowly and meticulously, documenting each item carefully. The total value was approximately $75,000 in cash and jewelry combined. $75,000 in accumulated savings and inherited jewelry hidden in a safe in an abandoned veterinary clinic in Austin, Texas, waiting for decades. Sophia sat on the dusty office floor and wept intensely, releasing years of accumulated grief and pain and loneliness and trauma. She researched the clinic's complete history thoroughly and discovered that the veterinarian, Dr. Richard Chen, had been deeply beloved and respected in the Austin community for over 40 years of dedicated service. He had never married, dedicating his entire life completely to caring for animals and to helping the people who loved those animals. When he retired in 1995 at age 70, he had sealed his entire life savings and inherited jewelry from his deceased family members in the safe, apparently planning to return someday but never doing so. He had passed away 20 years later at age 90, and his safe had remained hidden and undisturbed in the clinic, waiting patiently for someone to discover it and give it meaning. Sophia used some of the money to restore the veterinary clinic carefully and respectfully. She repaired the damaged roof and the walls. She cleaned the interior thoroughly and carefully. She preserved the historical elements and the character of the clinic while making the space functional and livable. She created a warm and welcoming home within the clinic walls that had helped so many beloved animals over the many decades. She used other funds to enroll in college at the University of Texas at Austin, studying veterinary science intensely and passionately, becoming deeply committed to animal care and to following in Dr. Chen's honorable footsteps. She became fascinated by his dedication, his compassion, and his approach to veterinary medicine that treated every animal with respect and dignity. Sophia established a completely free veterinary clinic within the restored building, providing quality care to animals whose owners couldn't afford expensive veterinary services. She dedicated her life completely to continuing Dr. Chen's powerful legacy of compassion and care for all creatures. The clinic became a beacon of hope for animals and families in need throughout Austin. Today, Sophia is 24 years old. She lives in the restored veterinary clinic in Austin, Texas, the beautiful building where she found her purpose and her true home. She runs the free veterinary clinic every day and helps animals and their families. She has honored Dr. Chen's memory through her dedication to compassionate animal care. Sophia Marie was 20 years old and homeless when she bought an abandoned veterinary clinic for $5. It was the best $5 she ever spent. Because what she found there was not just money and jewelry worth money. She found her life's calling. She found proof that her parents' and aunt's deaths had meaning and purpose. She found her way to honor those who had come before her and to help others. If you believe that sometimes loss leads us to our greatest purpose, subscribe to this channel.